So a statement came, or a report came from the IMF, and it's talking about the country and the oil deal, the government-to-government deal. And there's a paragraph here that I'll read from page 129 of the IMF fund statement. And it talks about the government intends to exit the oil import arrangement as we are cognizant of the distortions it has created in the forex market, the accompanying increase in rollover risk of the private sector financing facilities supporting it, and remain committed to private market solutions in the energy market. But the Cabinet Secretary for National Treasury responded and, of course, expressed dissatisfaction that there were reports from the media that were indicating that that statement should not be noteworthy, meaning that there had already been plans to ensure that there was an exit strategy. What is your reading of this, Honorable Robert Mbui? I know you have debated the conversation about G2G oil plan for so long. What's your take about these two conflicting statements?
Yeah, thank you, Sam. First and foremost, Honorable Soro talked about there being a plan. I dare say that there was never any plan.
Any plan? I'm glad.
It's really mixed up. I mean, for him to even say that the person in front of the camera and behind the camera are the same, I mean, these are different professions. I mean, and that's a kind of, even when they were setting up cabinet, that's a kind of thing I saw them do, putting people in the wrong places completely. But I think this plan of theirs is basically, as Honorable Olekina said, is actually being implemented by IMF and World Bank. I think after they came into office, they've gotten all these ideas from from other people. The G2G, even from the beginning, we opposed it because there was a number of things that were glaringly wrong. First and foremost, they talked about government to government, and then we realized it's actually marketers, oil marketing companies that were involved. Those are not governments. I mean, so in the strict reading of the term government, that was already a hoax at the beginning. Then secondly, it was meant to ease pressure on the dollar. I mean, we were told that in a month or two, the dollar prices would start, dropping, and unfortunately, they've been on free fall. I mean, the exchange rate is such an embarrassment for this country, and considering what the head of state said. And then the other thing that was, very basic economic, statement that was made by the leader of Kenya Kwanza, when he said that, this system is going to give us an opportunity to be buying oil using Kenyan shillings. I mean, that was outrageous. That was totally outrageous. Basic common sense dictates there is no way you can use Kenyan shillings to purchase something outside there, because even if you give $1 billion, even $1 trillion to some of these countries of Kenyan shillings, what will they do with it? You can't even buy a cup of tea with $1 trillion Kenyan shillings in the US. You can't, because they don't recognize that as legal tender. And you cannot go to any forex there and exchange that money. Kenyan money is not, you can exchange it there. You can only use Kenyan currency in the East African community. Kenya, Uganda, Rwanda, Tanzania, those are the countries you can use Kenyan currency. So when we're being told that from now we are suddenly going to be buying, crude with Kenyan shillings, I just thought that my economics in A-level seems to have been a lot higher than the economics being discussed in the economic, team of that is running this country. And that is why it was all doomed to fail. Now, the things we are hearing the CS saying, IMF has told us this thing has failed, and Kenya has to pull out. And then they have to come out quickly and start trying to save face and say that, it hasn't really failed. There was always an exit clause. The exit clause, if there was any, was meant to only be achieved after we achieved the objective, which was to bring down the value of the Kenyan, the dollar against the Kenyan shilling. It hasn't happened. So why are we pulling out? So let us accept that the whole thing was a hoax.
The other objective mentioned about stabilization of supply in the country?
By the way, Sam, there was never a problem of that nature. It was okay. We were getting supplies of fuel. The main problem was actually the part of sorting out the exchange rate. And that's why they said you'll be buying in Kenyan shillings. You tell me how you can go to Saudi with Kenyan shillings and buy. Go and buy a pancake in Saudi with Kenyan shillings and then call me a liar. This was just a hoax.
I want us to listen to what the president said in December 2023 in regards to this arrangement. Of course, there had been very many questions into it. Let's listen.
If I hadn't structured the G2G deal, the dollar today maybe would be at 250. That's how serious it would be. Why? Because the US Fed kept on increasing their interest rates. And you know very well that we can do the things we have done as Kenya, but we are also subject to the global economy. The G2G deal has worked. If we hadn't experienced an increase in the Fed, the dollar would be at 120 today. But because they kept on increasing the US exchange rate, our exchange rate, if we hadn't done the G2G transaction, if we were still going to the market to look for $500 million, 60 billion Kenyan shillings every month, and in fact, many banks, by the way, were waiting for the dollar to be at 200. Yeah, they will have to wait for a while because we have done things that nobody expected would be done, and we have managed to make sure that although things are not going the way we had planned, but they haven't gone overboard.
What do you mean?
That was the president in December 2023.
You know, if you allow me to go first, you know, when I listen to Ruto speak like that, I think he's completely clueless. In the sense that, I don't know whether you've read the agreement, the framework agreement, which was drafted by the Ministry of Petroleum on the G2G. I'm yet to understand. First of all, my colleague Mbui has spoken about the issue of the government coming in place. These three companies which were selected to be able to carry out this issue, the G2G, were the only companies that kept the money in dollars in their bank accounts, because all the other oil marketers still operated as if it was still the open tender system. They only had 5 days to pay the money. So if you look at it, it was a ratio of 60-40. 60% of all the oil was consumed locally. 40% of all the other oil was consumed outside the country. That was the only one paid in dollars. The one which was paid in shillings, if you look at the agreement, it says that, you know, these companies will keep the money in shillings, and then in the 90th day, they will now go to the market to start buying dollars. But the oil marketers were supposed to pay within the 5 days. So what I don't understand, what really confuses me is that why not just buy dollars on a daily basis and pay? So what was happening here is that this was a
That's what
scheme.
The president says.
No.
There was a challenge because the demand for the dollar was too high, and it was.
What challenge? What challenge? If 40% of all the oil is paid in dollars, what challenge? Hypothetically, if you have $1 billion, which is paid by Uganda, it is paid by Rwanda, it is paid by the DRC of the oil, what challenge will you have? I wish you know the balances that were being kept in the local banks. How much was being kept by these oil marketers in dollars? So really, if those dollars were really kept there, and they were not being traded for a few people to benefit, you know, we will not have a problem with dollars. So the thing is with that, we created a problem. And I think those people who are advising President Ruto were actually very misguided, because they misadvised him. He went ahead and made statements that we are causing problems in the market, yet they did not come and tell the public that, listen, all the 26 oil marketers are required to operate in the same manner they operated during the open tender system, whereby they get their oil, they say this is how much we need to buy, and they pay within 5 days. 5 days.
Honorable Osoro, help us here because, first of all, what is your understanding of the IMF statement, which the Cabinet Secretary for National Treasury says that it should not even be worth reporting about?
first of all, the truth of the matter is the intention of this whole thing, or this scheme, was there was a trade finance arrangement of government to government to ease these forex pressures. And of course, by eliminating the buying of fuel, such kind of stories that you all know about the G2G. The understanding that I have is that the intention, in as much as the intention was good, it hasn't really achieved its objective per se. Because earlier, the intention was to lower or to limit these pressures of the depreciating shilling and such like that. And the economists then believed that if we go through that scheme, then these forex pressures will have reduced. But really, that hasn't been achieved per se. But what the minister is telling you is that there is no pressure, or there is no risk per se. We've just realized earlier, and there should be a strategy going forward. The intention was good, the plan was very good, but we did not achieve our intended goal using that very plan.
So when the president says that were it not for the G2G, the dollar would be retailing at 200 shillings against the Kenyan shilling.
As it were then, it was necessary.
No, I'm saying, this was December.
Yes.
Just about a month ago. And he's saying,
a month is quite a long time, though. Because in any case, by the way, the G2G was, yes, it is true. The G2G was, when was the deal signed? April 2023.
It was effective April 2023.
Exactly. Just about 8 months.
So listen,
when we were really not doing very well.
Listen to the question. The president said, were it not for the G2G, the Kenya shilling against the dollar would be exchanging at 200 shillings or even 250.
Very true.
That's what he says.
Yes.
Here you are telling me that the G2G has not achieved the intended objective.
Exactly, because no, it's not contradictory. Between April and December, were it not for the G2G, the exchange rate could have been about 200 shillings or thereabout. But the intention was to reduce it to about 120, to have it reduced up to 120. We did not achieve that dream. Our dream was to have it until the exchange rate to be about 120 shillings. We didn't achieve that dream. But again, the risk wasn't very high, as we thought. I mean, as it's being said by IMF, that were it not for the G2G, the exchange rate could have been 200 shillings, like we've said. However...
Not what I'm saying. I mean, it's what the president said. I'm just quoting.
Exactly. However, and he's right. However, because of the G2G, we are not at 200, but we've not achieved our intended dream of 120. And that is why
do you think it's a
there is no further, there is no much, it could have been, that was the dream. That was the ambition, that was the mission. But we did not achieve that intended dream. And what the CS is telling you, like you asked the first question, is that we are now out of risk. It is not as risky as IMF is saying. We did not get to the 200 shillings, but we did not achieve our intended goal of 120.
You know, you're saying something interesting
this
there.
guy is completely... No, but I think the question you should ask him is that what factors determine the exchange rate? Is it the G2G? Or is it the balance of payment? How much are we exporting out of the country? How much are we importing? What is the direct foreign investment in this country? Those are factors, I think, in terms of economics. And this guy is well learned. He's an economist.
He's a lawyer.
He's a lawyer. So he should really understand that there are other factors. There are risks. What are risks involved? Are we living in a secure environment? Are we overtaxing people such that people are hiding their money? You know, those are some of the factors that affect the exchange rate. It is not the importation of the
it is one of the factors. It is true.
So really, you cannot say that if it wasn't for the G2G, the exchange rate would have hit 250. Ask yourself one simple question. Are businesses able to export their produce? Do we have a balance of payment? Are we selling a lot? Are we attracting a lot of foreign exchange into this country? Are Kenyans sending more money? That is what determines. Okay. You create a good environment, you create a good business environment, you allow more investors to come here, you support those investors. Then by doing that, you become competitive. You limit the risks.
All right.
That is how you define what determines the forex.
Honorable Soro, the statement of the Cabinet Secretary ends by saying the National Treasury reaffirms the importance of the G2G arrangement to the country's economy and hereby assures all concerned stakeholders of full government support until the obligations in the current contracts are extinguished. Now, I refer you to, in April 2023, Kenya shilling against the dollar was about 132. Right now, I think we're about 160 according to the CBK rates. If that trend continues, it is possible that at the end of the year, we might be at 180, 190.
God forbid.
No, 165.
Sorry?
Around 165.
By December?
Yes, because we are not going to allow it.
Very good.
No, I'm just saying a mathematical...
No.
If we allow them to continue.
If we allow them to continue, they are continuing.
Sorry, I want to finish with the Honorable Soro. If this trend continues, we may find ourselves at 180, 190 by December 2024. If at that time that's when the G2G expires and it's withdrawn, don't you think there's also a risk? Because if it was meant to contain the dollar against the shilling, then it ends and it's taken off. Shouldn't we then suffer more?
You have ideally just predicted, and you're being a pessimist.
No, I'm using the trends to extrapolate.
No. You can't use a singular trend because, like he said, there are so many other factors that affect the... He's just saying, using his own words, it's not just about the fuel. We are here, and he's saying...
No, you are not understanding his question. He's putting you in the box.
No, but what did he say? He said, Senator said here, that there are other factors that determine the strength of the shilling, not just about the fuel and such. So don't use just one angle of fuel.
But your boss has just told us.
Honorable Soro, I think I have to wish a good day. Let's take a look at the feedback that has come to us at TV Kenya. Sam Gituku, and Ora Kenyan saying this morning, Okello Mwalimu, now that the court has given a nod to the implementation of SHIF, we hope that the new scheme will be free of corruption and mismanagement that NHIF was known for. We hope that the sick won't be denied services and the process of seeking medical attention will be smooth. On Sarigo 93, with deductions of 5,000 shillings per month to SHIF, it will cost 160,000 shillings per year. The concern is, will someone get services at all hospitals, private or public, without discrimination? For sure, one can get a lucrative private insurance for 60,000 shillings. Remy Butia, SHIF provides an excellent opportunity to enact a systematic and evidence-based process for designing and developing essential packages, expanding the number of services covered and consolidating all schemes into one fund. J.M. Musoma, Kenyans won't believe that Court of Appeal's decision to lift High Court's order that suspended 3 health laws to pave way for 2.75% health insurance levy deductions is legit. The timing is poor as the ruling came shortly after the president intimidated judiciary on such. Godi Baraza, where ensuring healthcare is free from corruption is crucial for a people-centric leadership. Kenya Kwanza adherents must show how vital it is for the government to prioritize transparency and accountability in healthcare service. And that's what Kenyans are saying this morning. I want to thank you so much, Honorable Robert Mbui, Honorable Silvana Sosoro, and Senator Leda Molekina for making time for us to have this conversation. And we hope to see you soon as we continue looking at the matters affecting the public. Up next is Sporty Monday. They'll be telling you about the latest in the different tournaments, whether it's at the AFCON, the EPL, and so much more. Do stay tuned for that. My name is Sam Gituku. Bye for now.